a sound that they wake up to. Okay, let's see how many people are here already. Good.
12 hours after the end of estrus scan.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, does that mean if they want to mate, macam to ensure that the fertilization occurs, they have to mate macam a specific time, macam not exactly when dia betul-betul on heat, like maybe towards the end of the heat to ensure that fertilization actually occur?
Oh, not really, because you got to see the survivability of the sperm within the reproductive tract also. It doesn't die off so easily, especially if it's like natural mating, right? It can last for quite some time. One. So not necessarily they need to be mated at the end of estrus. It's just that they ovulate a bit later. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else?
Doctor, sorry. So,
Mm.
one more. So,
Yes.
kalau artificial insemination, like, what about the survivability?
Because there's a difference between AI and natural mating. So when natural mating occurs, the semen is deposited in the vagina, right? But then when you talk about AI, it's typically deposited intrauterine. And then for AI, there's depends on whether you want a AI based on natural heat or you want an AI based on fixed time AI. So like this one depends on whether you use any estrus synchronization techniques. So if you're just basing it off of like normal heat, usually if you see her having standing heat in the morning, you will AI her in the evening. Or if you see her standing heat in the evening, you will AI her the next morning. So pretty much, I think what AI is trying to do is also trying to catch the tail end of the estrus now.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? All right, nothing, then we just keep going. All right, oh, we need to record. Okay, welcome back everybody. So now we will be continuing on and we'll be talking about estrus detection and synchronization. So learning objectives for this class would be to identify the signs of estrus and methods of estrus detection, as well as to understand the concept of estrus synchronization. Now, when we talk about estrus detection, why is it important to have good estrus detection? Because when we talk about farming practices, especially in our cattle farming, so reproductive success really depends on how well we are able to determine whether the animals are coming on heat. Okay, so what do you want to look for, as well as when do you want to look for it, is very important, because if your timing's not correct or if you're looking at the wrong things, you might not catch that the animal's on heat, right? So the best environment to look for heat is like it's among relaxed animals, right? During their normal activities. So where they are pretty much chill, they're not stressed, right? So that's the best time. And if you're talking about dairy herds, it's best during cooler times. So like early in the morning before feeding and milking, or in the late evening. So after feeding, you can do it before or after milking. And then after that, you can follow up with artificial insemination, natural mating, as well as embryo transfer. Also, in terms of dairy cattle, when you bring the animals up to the milking parlor, you will notice that there will be some activity going on as well. Sometimes when they are waiting to enter the milking parlor, you can see that some cows are mounting other cows, for example. So in that sense, also, you can also see which cows are in heat. So what are signs of heat that you want to look out for, right? So the most important sign of heat that you all need to remember is mounting or standing to be mounted, right? So the female that is in heat, she will stand to be mounted, right? So that's your primary sign. Other secondary signs that you will see, including like the vulva will be swollen, there's like mucus discharge, like chin resting, restless or bawling. So like they, they keep moving around, or they don't sit down, or they sit in a stand, sit in a stand. And bawling is just like vocalization, right? You might see frequent urination, as well as if there's a small group of females within your herd that are on heat at the same time, sometimes they will try to like, they go to one side by themselves, and then they're like mounting each other. Right, so this is what mounting looks like. So this is typically when we see an animal that's being mounted, so she is the one that's on heat, right? And normally if you see another female cow mounting another female cow, right, no judgment here, but if you see a female cow mounting another female cow, this female cow is typically going to come into heat, right? And then in this case, there's a pig mounting another pig, lah. So also standing to be mounted. Right. So remember, primary sign of heat. So other things that you can see include swelling of the vulva, mucus discharge that's clear, right? So red, swollen, and then it just make up the mucus discharge at the bottom here. Chin resting. All right. So this video just to show you some signs of heat that you can see. As usual, just give me thumbs up if you see it playing, yeah, or inform me if it's stuck. Hmm. Sorry, guys. Let me see how I can. Let's try this again.
Hello, my name is John Grimes, OSU Extension Beef Coordinator, and today we're going to visit with you on the topic of heat detection of beef cattle. The vast majority of beef cattle.
Sorry, I missed my timing. Hang on.
Hello, my name is John Grimes.
218.
Hello, my name is John Grimes, OSU Extension. Two stages of heat or estrus. One female is in the early stages of heat as she is trying to mount the other female. Meanwhile, the other female resists attempts to be mounted and is no longer in standing heat. It is not unusual to see females grouped together when they are in heat. Here we see 4 females grouped together with one female aggressively mounting another that is in standing heat. Successful heat detection takes time, and it's a good idea to take extra time to observe cows that are in larger groups. This can be an indication that there may be more than one cow in heat at a particular time. Frequent observation of the herd can help you identify aggressive bull calves. These aggressive bull calves can prove to be valuable aids in heat detection. In situations where multiple females are in standing heat, the aggressive bull calves are excellent heat detectors, as they will be just as active in mounting females as are other females that are in standing heat. After a period of time, females begin to show signs of no longer being in standing heat. Here we see a female that is starting to go out of standing heat as she is beginning to walk away from the female mounting her. Here we also observe the alternating head-to-tail stance associated with various stages of standing heat. Females that are no longer in standing heat tend to ward off the advances of other animals wanting to be near them by headbutting or pushing them out of the way. Hello, my name is John.
Right, so you saw some signs of heat that you can detect. Now, what are some other aids that will help you to ease your job in doing heat detection, right? So you can use chin ball markers, make sidewinders or penile deviation, do vasectomy, penectomy, KEMA heat mount detector, AstroTech patches, tail paint, activity monitors or pedometers, right? So we'll just go into a bit more in detail. So this is an example of a chin ball marker. So this it's placed at the bottom of the chin of the bull, and inside here is actually they put in some paint, right? And then whenever the bull mounts the female, the chin will be resting on the back of the female. And if you see this ball right here, this one will be like kind of like pushed in so that the paint will be able to exit out, right? Can you imagine? So it's pretty much like when you use ballpoint pens, like that's how it works, right? And then to make teasables, there are a few ways that you can make teasables. So teasables meaning that they are able to detect heat, but you don't use them to mate with your animals. You just use them to detect females that are on heat. So in this case, it's a sidewinder. So you can see or penile deviation. So a surgery has been done so that the penis doesn't exit from its normal preputial area, but it is diverted to the side, either to the left or the right, so that no intromission occurs, right? Another way that you can do this is also you can do a vasectomy. So vasectomy is to cut off a portion of the vas deferens, or you can do an epididectomy. You can remove a portion of the epididymis so that the testicles are still functioning. It's just that sperm is not transferred from the testis towards the vas deferens and the urethra, right? So pretty much the bull is sterile. This one is a KEMA heat detector. So it's just it's like a patch that you put on the tail head of the animal, of the female, right? So put it on tail of the female. And then what happens is that if there is any pressure, like heavy pressure that kind of have an impact onto the heat detector, what happens is that there's a portion in it that kind of breaks. And then from a white, it will turn to like an orange kind of color, if you can see this, right? So you can actually see from far which animals are the ones that are on heat because they have been mounted by other animals. Right, this is other views of the heat detector. So this is another one called an AstroTech heat detector. This one is like a sticky tape that you just kind of put on the tail head of the cow. It's like when you buy lottery. Okay, not all of you buy lottery. No, but have you seen like those like you scratch like Gores dan Menang kind of like scratch kind of things, right? To see whether you won any prizes or whatever. So this is something like that. So you see any evidence of the AstroTech being scratched off, then you know that the animal has been mounted, right? So there are differences in scores. So between score 1 and score 4, the higher the score, it just means that the animal has been mounted more times compared to, like, for example, this animal or this animal. So the higher the score, the higher the chances are that the animals are in heat, right? So this picture is courtesy of Polar from Texas A&M. So Polar also looked at the heat detection using this AstroTech patch with the pregnancy rate. So you can see that those who were scored at 4 had higher rates of pregnancy compared to those that were scored at 1, right? Which shows that it works lah for.
Hello, heat with various aids available to produce
So
commercial
this is
heat
how the AstroTech is being used. Yeah.
detection aids available to the producer. One such aid commonly used is the Estrotech heat detector patch. The heat detector patches can be applied to the female by peeling them off the paper strip and placing the adhesive side to the mid to front tailhead region of the female. When a female is in standing heat, the mounting female applies pressure to the patch and eventually wipes away the initial gray substance off the patch, leaving the colored patch as shown. These patches come in multiple colors. Be careful not to confuse scratches on a patch as an indication of standing heat. This patch indicates scratching from a tree branch, fence wire, or other object. Mounting activity by animals tend to wear the patch in a larger, more uniform area. Another item that can serve as a useful heat detection aid is the paint stick marker. The marker is used by applying a liberal coating of the marker across the tailhead in a front to rear motion. Animals mounting a female that is in standing heat will rub away the marker from pressure applied by frequent mountings. As stated earlier,
All right. So in this video, not only did they show you the usage of the AstroTech patches, but also usage of the crayon, the tail paint. So another example.
hello,
Another example of the tail paint is something like this, where you actually use paint and they just apply it liberally around the tailhead region. And then if the tail paint kind of scrapes off, then they know that the animal has been mounted. All right, so another usage is activity monitors. So this is pretty much like, like your health monitors, or like the Garmin or Apple Watch or whatever you use to track your steps, your footsteps during the day. So this is something like what they use in cattle as well. So you can either put it at the legs, or you can put it like as a collar, right? So within this monitors, they have they have an accelerometer. So the accelerometer will be able to detect whether the animal is actually moving or taking a step. Okay. So this is an example of, for example, the activity that you can monitor for your cows. So the way it is read is that because when you're talking about dairy cows, if you fix them with this monitor, they come into the milking parlor every single day, twice a day. So when they come into the milking parlor, what happens is that inside the milking parlor, there's this like reader. Can you see this like orange color thing here? Yeah. So if the cow passes by, it reads, and then it takes like the reading for how many steps the cow has done within the past 24 hours, for example. Right. So if you can see here, the dark line is the activity of the cow in steps per hour, and this lighter line is daily milk production. But we just focus on the activity. So you can see around like day 62, 63, there was a spike in activity, and then followed by around like day 84, 85, and there's another spike in activity. So they saw, so I mean, the difference between those two spikes were about 21 days, which is quite close, but it also indicates that this animal was on heat during this time. Because typically when an animal is on heat, they tend to become restless. So when the animals are restless, they tend to like walk around more. They tend to like get up and sit down, get up and sit down. More activity, right? So more activity. So the farmer will be able to know that the animals are on heat. Now, activity monitors are very helpful, especially if we are dealing with large herds of animals. So for example, if your dairy has 3, 4, 500 cows, right? You can't be going and trying to observe for heat every single morning or every single evening. It's very labor intensive. So if you use this activity monitor instead, you can just open it up on your computer, and then the computer itself will flag which are the potential cows that are on heat. And then you can actually go and check the records, or you can actually go out and look for that particular cow in the herd and see whether she's already like suitable for to be bred. So this is a female. 24, 37.
farming Rue Farm. It's a farm down in Kirkcoven in the Irish Peninsula of County Down, Northern Ireland. A farm here with my mother and father and my brother Thomas. The size of the farm is 700 acres and we're milking 450 cows. The average yield per cow is 10,500 litres. There's 5 people working on the dairy farm full time. We milk 3 times a day in this farm. The milking system we have in this carter is a 60-point Fullwood rotary milking carter with the AFI milking system on it. The AFI system has been on for 5 years now. Since installing AFI milk, we've seen an increase in production. We were at probably 10,000 litres and now we're up to 10.5. Installing the AFI system with the pedos, we've seen an increase in heat detection and we're using the 100%. We're not spotting any heats ourselves. It's all 100% through the pedo. AFI milk has reduced the culling rates on the farm. AFI milk's helped us with our herd health, probably more mastitis, spotting it a lot earlier, knowing with the weigh-in and whether a cow's sick more, so all that there, that you're able to spot things a lot sooner. The time spent in the office, it would take you to go into the office definitely after every milking to get the most out of the thing, but probably 10 to 15 minutes after every milking. The herd health has improved since installing AFI milk. AFI milk components we've got in the farm is the milk, the feeding and fertility, and then the weigh and sort as well. In my opinion, the most important part of the AFI milk system is your reports that you can get, the data that you can put in and what you get back out of it, and that it's there whenever you need it. The AFI milk has provided a lot of things for us. One, for example, there's the actual heat detection of the herd. Before we were sitting at nearly 3.5 straws per cow. We're sitting now at 2. Just different things that you're able to go and get off the computer straight away. The cows weigh in and different things that you're able to spot that a lot quicker.
Right, so there was an example of how the AFI milk system or the pedometer is being used. Yeah. For an addition, do you know what kind of milking parlor design this is? Any ideas or guesses? Have you all seen this before? Yep, it's a rotary parlor. Yep, correct, rotary parlor. So you can actually feed in a lot of cows at one time, right? Compared to like your herringbone or your parallel parlors, you can feed more cows in one time. All right, so any questions so far, guys? Everything okay? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so moving on to estrus synchronization. So estrus synchronization is actually a very important reproductive management tool. What it does is that it can help us to reduce our calving window. That means if we synchronize a number of our animals at a certain time, it means that we will also mate them at a certain time. And when we mate them at a certain time, they will give birth all together at a certain time, right? So reducing calving window means that the duration of when our cows give birth will be reduced. Especially if you have a large farm or where you have labor shortages, so you can plan so that you can hire more you can hire more people during that time of parturition to help you. So in other times of the year, maybe you don't need as much labor, for example. And then what you get with estrus synchronization is that you get a uniform crop of offspring. So meaning that all your calves will be born at a certain within a certain time frame. You can feed them all pretty much the same way, and when you sell them, you can sell them off at almost the same weight. So estrus synchronization is typically done with AI. There are people who still do this with natural mating, but the trend now is going towards AI. There are a lot of protocols that you will find online or on farms or in whatever practice that you have seen, and all these protocols will involve different timings, involve different usages of different types of hormones, right? But we'll cover just a few of them in a while. So some disadvantages of estrus synchronization include like the labor cost, because in order to synchronize your animals, you need to like patch them, you need to put them in the chute. Depends on how many injections or how many treatments you want to give them. So each treatment or each injection, you need to bring them into the chute, and that will involve labor. You need to have adequate facilities in terms of being able to put the animals in a crush, for example. If you don't have a crush, if you don't have a chute, it's really very difficult to give your injections or to put any inserts in. All right, so and then lastly, it's a higher input cost because you need to pay for the hormones, you need to pay for the injections, all right? But then on the flip side, you also have to think about, yes, it's a higher initial cost, but if it guarantees you or a higher chance of getting your cows pregnant, is it worth the investment? So you need to talk to the farmer about this, whether because you cannot just say that, oh, it's too expensive to buy hormones or whatever. But if it results in your cows having a higher calving rate, it might be worth it to get it. Right. So some concepts when we talk about estrus synchronization, because you'll be bombarded with lots of protocols, but I just need you guys to just focus on the main things, all right? So the first one is, the first concept is to suppress the estrus. So as you all, if you all can remember from this morning, we talk about suppress, so we talk about estrus, we talk about the secretion of estrogen, right? Secretion of estradiol. But in order to suppress estrus, like how do we do this? Right, so what we can do is that we can give progesterone treatment for a period. Okay, so do you remember what progesterone does? Do any of you remember what progesterone does? What does it do to the uterus? What does it do to the activity of the reproductive system of the cow?
Maintain pregnancy.
Maintains pregnancy. Yep, correct. Maintains pregnancy, and it doesn't allow her to cycle. Right, doesn't allow her to cycle. So if we use a progesterone treatment for a certain period of time, what happens is that we can suppress the estrus so that she doesn't come into heat. Right, and then but then the moment we remove that source of progesterone, so our progesterone will go down. So once our progesterone goes down, what will go up? What will go up will be your estradiol. Okay, so progesterone goes down, your estradiol goes up. So when estradiol goes up, it means that your animals will come into heat, right? And then together with the maturation of your dominant follicle and estrus from your FSH, all right? So the second concept is luteal regression, right? Do you remember how do you want to cause luteolysis? What can you use?
Prostaglandin.
Yep, prostaglandin, all right. So, or PGF2 alpha or prostaglandin F2 alpha. Be a bit wary when you use the term just prostaglandin because there are different types of prostaglandin. There's also like prostaglandin E, right? So if you answer, just say PGF2 alpha or prostaglandin F2 alpha, just to be a bit more accurate, all right? So yes, you can use PGF2 alpha to cause a luteal regression. And once you remember, your CL is the one that produces your progesterone, correct? So when you kill off your CL, it causes luteolysis, that progesterone will drop because your CL is no longer there, right? Same thing, you get maturation of dominant follicle and estrus, and the animal will come into heat. Do you remember what's the minimum age of the CL for it to respond to your PGF2 alpha? How many days old? Yeah, so minimum 5. Yeah, good job. Right, so this is just a recap from this morning's lecture. So just remember that this is your luteal phase, right? You get ovulation here to get your increase in your LH, and then follicle will become CL. CL produces progesterone. Progesterone goes up, and then towards the end, your PGF2 alpha comes in, causes luteolysis. Progesterone goes down, estrogen goes up. Right. So what are the specifically what hormones can you use? So you talk about prostaglandin. So specifically will be your PGF2 alpha. This one can come in the form of lutolized or estrumate. Lutolized, estrumate, these are just trade names for different types of prostaglandins that are available in the market. As for progesterone, it can come in the form of MGA, which is short for melangestrol acetate. This is given orally, so you need to put it in the feet of the animal and they need to take it daily, right? Some inserts for progesterone are like your SIDA as well as your PRITs. GnRH, you can also give that as an injection. So those that are available in the market include cystorelin and fertigil. And lastly is estrogen. Has been used as a hormone for synchronization in the past, but not approved for cattle use anymore. Especially in the EU, they don't use this they don't use estrogen to synchronize anymore, right? What they used to use include like estradiol, cypionate, and compounded estrogens. However, in the US, they still kind of use estrogen implants that they put into the ear to help with the growth of beef cattle. Yeah, but that's regulated quite heavily. But I know in the EU, as far as I know, the EU they don't use this anymore. The EU is very strict in terms of hormone regulation and hormonal use. Right, so example is lutolized. So the active ingredient is dinoprost, right? So it's a type of PGF2 alpha, as well as estrumate. So estrumate is chlorprostanol. It's just another type of PGF2 alpha, right? They pretty much they work the same way. This is your PRIT, which is short for progesterone releasing intravaginal device. So this is actually there's an applicator, it's like a tube, and then you put this PRIT inside the tube and you just kind of like insert it into the vagina, and then you pull the tube out, and then this stays inside with like if you see this little tail here, it just kind of hangs out so that it's easy for you to remove the PRIT when you need to, right? But PRITs are not so commonly used anymore. I don't really see this being used anymore because typically farmers or vets producers, they will go with your CIDAs. So CIDA is short for controlled internal controlled internal drug release. It's a intravaginal progesterone insert. It contains about 1.38 grams of progesterone in the insert itself. Yeah, and then you can use it in cattle, goats, sheep. Just that the size will change. For cattle, it's quite big, like that. For goats, it's like maybe like this big. It's much smaller, right? So it's T-shaped with a nylon spine and a silicone rubber skin. So you can see here, this is like a T-shape. And then this is the applicator for the SIDA. Right, so the way to put it in is that you kind of load up the gun first. You just put this in and then you load up the gun and then you lubricate the end. Then you go in at like imagine like this is the vaginal tract of the female. Right, can see, can you see me? Vaginal tract of the female. So you're going in at like a 30 to 45 degree angle. And then after that, you kind of redirect it horizontally. And then you push the plunger. So when you push the plunger, what happens is that the T-shaped SIDA will like this, and then it's kind of like spread out. And then it will like kind of hook to the vaginal mucosa. Not really hook, but it kind of stays in place. And then this blue color plastic string you can see here is the one that kind of hangs up. This is just to ease removal later. Right, so you can see here, this plastic string that's hanging up. So once you put the SIDA in, you're just gonna make sure that you just give it a bit of a pull, make sure that it doesn't come out. Right, this is a picture of it being removed. The white portion should not be sticking out like this, okay? It should be all inside. Only the blue color string will be sticking out. Right, 128. Right, so this is another video for you guys.
My name is Don. CIDR stands for Controlled Internal Drug Release, CIDR. And the CIDR device is a T-shaped plastic device that's coated in the hormone progesterone. Okay, so as I rub my finger over the CIDR device, some of the hormone is able to be rubbed off the plastic onto my latex glove. Whenever you're handling these devices, it's very important that you wear some sort of protective coating on your hands because the hormone will be rubbed from the device. The CEDAR devices are used in beef cattle to help control the onset of estrus. When the CEDAR device is inserted into the animal, it prevents them from coming into heat. When the CEDAR device is removed by pulling the string, the hormone disappears in the animal's bloodstream, which allows the animal the opportunity to come into estrus. To insert a CEDAR device, you simply bend the wings up on the T, take the disinfected and cleaned applicator, and with the groove up, insert the CEDAR device into the end of the applicator. It's very important that you insert the CEDAR device with the tail pointing down instead of the tail pointing up. Okay? The tail's pointing up. Research has shown that the flapping of the tail by the animal's movements will attract attention of other beef heifers and cows, and they'll actually grab this tail with their teeth and remove it from the animal's body. So it's very important that the tail goes down. The next step is to get a couple of paper towels and then thoroughly cover the end of the CEDAR device with lubricant. Once you have the animal in a head chute and restrained, simply pick up the tail, take the paper towels, and wipe the manure off the vulva. Again, with the tail down, insert the lubricated CEDAR device into the vulva, all the way to the anterior vagina, depress the plunger, and remove the CEDAR applicator. The only difficulty in inserting the CEDAR device is about 3 inches or so into the vagina is where the suburethral diverticulum is. And that's where the urethra empties into the reproductive tract. That creates a ridge, and sometimes the CEDAR device, you have to gently manipulate the CEDAR device up over that ridge so that you can deposit the CEDAR into the anterior vagina. Now the body fluids soak up the hormone, and as long as the CEDAR device is in the animal's body, she will not be able to come into estrus. When you're ready for the animal to come into estrus, simply grab the string and remove the CEDAR device. CEDARs are used extensively in the beef industry.
All right, so now we will be going to a few protocols that have been used for estrus synchronization. So the first one that we look at will be the usage of just PGF2 alpha injections. So there is either the 2 injection protocol or the 1 injection protocol, right? So we'll discuss both of this. We talk about the 2 injection protocol first. So the 2 injection protocol is you start off with a PGF2 alpha injection on day 1. And then after that, you wait for 14 days, and then you give another injection of your CEDAR protocol. Just ignore the bottom one first, yeah. Just pay attention to the top. So why you're using 2 injected protocol is that, so for your animals that have CLs that are 5 days old or longer, right? Imran, I'll answer you in a bit, yeah. So for the PGF2 alpha, for animals that have CL that's 5 days old or older, it will respond to your PGF2 alpha, right? So what happens is that the CL will regress and then she will ovulate. And then when you give the second injection 14 days later, she will also have a CL that is functional and she will respond here as well. But what happens if you are injecting PGF2 alpha in a cow that the CL is less than 5 days? Because remember, in less than 5 days, she doesn't really react towards the PGF2 alpha. So what happens is that she will react to the PGF2 alpha that you inject here. So at your second PGF2 alpha injection, all your cows will come into heat after this. This one, can you understand this? Do you need me to repeat any parts? Again, doctor. Okay, all right. So, all right. All right, first, so you have two groups of cows, all right? So the first group of cows is those that have a CL that's 5 days or older. So you remember CL that is matured will respond to your PGF2 alpha, right? So once you give your PGF2 alpha to that cow, what happens is that CL will be gone, right? And then remember, if CL gone, what happens is that she will ovulate or she will come into heat. And then she will get another CL. So that other CL will respond to this second PGF2 alpha also. So which means that this cow, her CL will be luteinized twice. That one can understand, not Shazima? Okay, right, understand? Second case scenario is that if you have a cow that her CL is not 5 days old yet. So remember, if the CL is immature, it will not respond to your PGF2 alpha, correct? So if you give PGF2 alpha at the first time, because CL is immature, nothing will happen, okay? But 14 days later, the CL is already more than 5 days old. So if you give your second injection of PGF2 alpha, this group of cows will respond to that second injection of PGF2 alpha. So ultimately, both your groups of cows, those that respond to both injections and those that only respond to the second injection will be estrus synchronized and they will come on heat at the same time here. Does that make sense? Okay, faham. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, everybody understand? Okay, another scenario is that if you're only using a one injection PGF2 alpha, right? So one injection PGF2 alpha, don't look at this anymore, don't look at this anymore. We just concentrate on this one here. So if we have a group of cows that we only want to do a one injection PGF2 alpha, what happens is that from the day from 0 to 5, we don't give anything yet, but we want to observe for heat, right? So to observe for heat, we put in a bull or we put in a teaser bull together with the group, okay? So, okay, I'll answer you later. So if what happens is that if she's within 0 to 5, if she responds to the bull, you can give AI. If within the 5 days nothing happens, you can give your PGF2 alpha, and then she will ovulate after your PGF2 alpha is given, and then you look for heat here, and then you can give AI. Let's go with Imran's question first. Yeah. How long can the SIDA stay in the uterus until it becomes non-functional? It's an interesting question. I've not come across any papers that look for how long it's been used for, but there are different protocols that can extend up to 14 days, and they still see that the SIDA is still working. If you go into a deeper dive of journal articles, you can see that some people actually use SIDAs twice. That means they already use it for one protocol and then they use it for another protocol. The level of progesterone that is achieved on the second insertion of the SIDA is still adequate to do estrus synchronization, but it is not recommended because you have to deal with like washing it and then drying it and then going to make sure that it's clean or sterile, right? Right. It's not recommended, but it still works. Fatiha's question, second corpus luteum will respond with PGF2 alpha, right? Correct. Doctor, what is the minimum age if we want to start induce this hormone to stimulate ovulation? That means, Fatiha, you're talking about the age of the cow? Yes, okay. So you were talking about age of the cow. The thing about PGF2 alpha is that you need to have a CL in order for it to work. So these cows definitely need to be cycling. All right, so the moment they are cycling, you see signs of heat, they're good to go. But if you're dealing with heifer cows that have, you're not sure whether they're cycling or not, if you give PGF2 alpha and they don't have that mature CL because they're not cycling yet, they're not going to respond. So PGF2 alpha is not suitable for use in very young animals. Usually we use PGF2 alpha, this kind of protocol, in slightly older cows. Is that okay? All right, Fatima, is that okay? Okay, understand. Okay, great. Great. So some advantages of a PGF2 alpha is that it's cheap, right? Easy administration, because you just need to buy one bottle, you just need to give an injection, that's it. But disadvantage is now, as I mentioned, the cow needs to be cycling. It does not induce estrus cycle. So if your cow is not cycling yet and you give PGF2 alpha, it's not going to work. You cannot do timed AI because you need to do heat detection, and it's pretty labor intensive because you need to do heat detection. You need to be on the lookout for your cows to be on heat before you can do AI, right? All right, so another protocol is by using a combination of CIDA and PGF2 alpha, right? So in this case, CIDA you can put in for 7 days, and at the end of the 7th day, you give a shot of PGF2 alpha. So you remember CIDA is to maintain that progesterone concentration, right? So if she already has a CL that's functional, if you put in a CIDA together, it would just maintain so that there's no reaction, so that there's no luteolysis, right? Her progesterone level is going to be maintained. But the moment on day 7 you pull out the CIDA, what happens to your progesterone concentration? Right, so your progesterone concentration will drop, correct? And then at the same time, if you're giving your PGF2 alpha injection, what does PGF2 alpha injection do? Do you remember? What does it do to the CL? It causes.
Is
Sorry, Hakim, can you say that again?
luteolysis. Luteolysis.
Okay. Yes, yes, it causes luteolysis, correct. So you remove the CIDA, progesterone drops. PGF2 alpha, you get rid of the CL, and then you get luteolysis. So all your progesterone drop, and then when progesterone drop, what happens to your estrogen? Starts going up, and then you have your LH surge as well. So when you have LH surge, you get ovulation, so your animal will come into heat. So you need to do heat detection and AI at this point of time. Okay, thumbs up if okay, thumbs down if you don't understand. All right, because I can repeat this if you don't understand, right? It can be a bit confusing, right? Okay, good. Oh, these are the ones in goats, all right, so smaller ones. All right, more protocols. Now we look at the GnRH PGF2 alpha protocols, okay? So if you all remember, what does GnRH do? So remember gonadotropin releasing hormone, what does GnRH do?
Release FSH and LH.
Right, so it helps to stimulate the release of FSH and LH from the
Pituitary.
pituitary, excellent. So from the pituitary gland, right? So when you give an injection of GnRH, if the animal has like a dominant follicle within a ovary, that follicle will ovulate. Because remember, GnRH causes release of FSH and LH. So you want that LH function. So you give the shot of GnRH, LH will also spike. If she has any follicles, she will ovulate. Right? And then remember, once ovulate, what happens? You get your CL formation, correct? So that CL formation, after 7 days, you give a shot of PGF2 alpha. The PGF2 alpha will cause luteolysis of that CL, right? Luteolysis of this CL. So your animals will come into heat after this. If your animals don't respond to the GnRH because she has already ovulated and she has a CL, that CL will respond to this PGF2 alpha. So ultimately, you're giving these 2 shots to make sure that you get luteolysis in all your animals at this PGF2 alpha injection so that they will come into heat at the same time, right? Because you want to synchronize heats, right? So come into heat at the same time. Is that okay, guys? Oh, yeah. Okay. More protocols. Yay. All right. So if so we have these protocols that are used more commonly now. So we have the off-sync protocol, co-sync protocol, and the select sync protocol, right? So this one uses the concept of your GNRH and your PGF2 alpha, right? So you're all clear, right? Just now. So all of them start off with a GNRH on day 0, and you give a shot of PGF2 alpha on day 7, okay? So there's some slight differences. So for the off-sync, you give a GNRH injection on day 9, and then you breed on day 10. For co-sync on day 9.5, you do GNRH and you breed together. So why they put here breed and not estrus detection is because these are also known as fixed time AI. So the great thing about fixed time AI is like, for example, if you look at your calendar, right, and then you're talking to the farmer, oh yeah, I'm only free on like Wednesday morning. So you can plan your synchronization protocol so that you do your breeding on Wednesday morning. So when you go on Wednesday morning, all these shots have been given previously and your cows are ready to be bred. So you don't have to like go and look for signs of heat lah, standing to be mounted or that. Don't have to go through that much trouble. Straight away go in, you can start breeding already, right? So that's the beauty of fixed time AI. It's just that there's an extra step where you need to give another shot of GNRH lah, okay? So for the select sync protocol, it's just GNRH PGF again, but then this one you need to look for the extra signs, okay? Some have also do like a CEDA co-sync protocol, whereby from day 0 to day 7, they also put in a CEDA together with this protocol, right? So remember, off-sync and co-sync, these are fixed time AIs. Select sync, this one you need to look for standing heat. Okay, so far? Okay, Shen Kang, I'm sorry, but when do you give the first PGF2 alpha injection after estrus for the second injection? When to give the first PGF after estrus for the... Shen Kang, which one are you talking about? Is it the 2 protocol one or is it this one? Or is it the one after this? The earlier, is it this slide, the 2 injection, 1 injection, PGF2 alpha? All right, so when do you want to give the first injection after estrus? Talking about this one, you're talking about this one. Wait, you're talking about 2 injection? 2 injection? You're talking about this one, is it? This injection? All right, it doesn't matter because you're doing estrus synchronization. You just, let's say you have a herd of cows, you just inject all of them. Because by the time you inject them 14 days later, this is the one that will sync all your cows that you injected at the first day. Okay? Okay, okay, great. Okay, let's move on. All right, so fixed time AI protocols, we took like I did this now. So some disadvantages are it will cost more because you need to inject more times. Sorry, typo here, but we will eliminate the need for estrus detection in terms of labor. Okay. And then normally we can use fixed time AI protocols together with progesterone and GnRH, as well as the PGF2 alpha. And then there are also other protocols whereby they look at protocols in order to fully utilize sex semen. So sex semen are semen that has been, how to say, they actually separate the X and Y. So your semen that carries the X and the semen that carries the Y chromosome, they have been separated. So you can, if you use the X semen, it makes sure that there's a very high percentage that the calf that's being born is female. Right, and then the Y, high percentage of the calf being born will be male, right? So if you go to this site, beefrepro.org, you can see a whole bunch of other protocols that you can refer to. You go to this site, just click on protocols, right? You click on protocols and then it will bring you to another site there where they have all the different types of protocols that you can look at. There are protocols that they can recommend for beef cattle, protocol for dairy cattle, protocol for heifers, protocol for sex semen. There's a lot, right? And if you go under resources here, they will bring you to a link to the Iowa State Excel file, whereby you can download this file for free. Should be free. It's called Istrus Sync. So one great thing about this Istrus Sync is that you can just key in what are the protocols that you're interested in, or what are the things that you have, what hormones that you have, and what is the timing that you need. Then automatically it will fill in a calendar for you to just follow. All right, I need to like generate here, PGF here, breed here. So you don't have to do so much planning. You just key in, it will calculate everything for you. Right. So last thing is that before you do any AIs, or sorry, before you do any Estrus synchronizations, you need to make a checklist. So the checklist will consist of, you need to choose your protocol that you want, and then you need to have it scheduled, right? And then you need to arrange the labor to be there on the farm in order to help you with restraining, with injection, putting in the SIDA if it's needed, right? Because you cannot do this alone. It's too much work. Make sure you have your supplies and your tools, your injection, your needles, your syringes, your SIDA applicators, whatever that you'll be using, right? And then in terms of the females, they need to be in adequate BCS condition. BCS condition, they need to be to have adequate BCS, right? They need to be of breeding weight, not too thin, not too fat, right? Good BCS. And then you need to plan it. So in terms of you're using the correct product, you're doing it on the correct day, and you're using the correct amount, okay? All right, so learning objectives for today were to identify signs of estrus and the methods of estrus detection, as well as to understand the concept of estrus synchronization. Okay, and do you have any questions? In the meantime, I'm going to look for whether I have the Iowa estrus synchronization file downloaded before. Just give me a moment. Do you guys have class after this? Do you need to leave at 4?
No, doctor.
No, doctor.
Don't have? Okay. So I need to just look for the file. Take your time. Oh. Believe me, you don't want me to take my time. It'll be too slow. Alamak. I don't have it in my computer. You know what, guys? I can look for it and I can upload it in Putrabas. You all can play with it later. Okay, right. Any questions? Let's see. Shazima's question: Adakah large animal farm, or large farm in Malaysia like Farm Fresh use the sync protocols? Good question. Actually, I'm not sure whether Farm Fresh uses these protocols. I mean, it would make a lot of sense for them to use estrus synchronization because it's very labor intensive to look for heat detection, to do heat detection on a farm, especially if you have like 400 to 500 cattle. It's very labor intensive. So I would think they would use, but don't quote me on that. All right. Like last time when I did my PhD, so I did my PhD over here. It's the Purdue Dairy Farm. This one they actually did estrus synchronization. PGF2 alpha, PGF2 alpha SIDA protocols. Yeah, PGF2 alpha SIDA protocols. They did, and this farm only had like 200 cows, but they still used estrus synchronization. So I guess my answer to Shazima is like I'm not sure lah. If you have any context in Farm Fresh, that would be great. Any of you guys been to Farm Fresh before when you all did your practicals, when you all were able to do your practicals last time? Ada tak? Anybody managed to go? Chia? What's Chia? Chia. Oh, Chia is a person's name. Okay, has gone before. Naza. Okay. Oh, all right. Do you all encounter any usages of astrosynchronization protocols?
Doctor,
Chia. Kia. Is it Kia or Chia? Kia. Ada. Oh, do you know what they use? Raihana and Iza. Do you remember what they use?
I remember
guna
they
SIDA
used
tak?
SIDA. Yeah, they did. They did use SIDA.
Or they give injections?
From what I remember, they use SIDA. I remember the device.
Sorry, Raihana, can you just repeat that?
They use SIDA. I remember.
They use SIDA. Okay, great, great. Only SIDA, or did they use something else together with the SIDA?
I don't remember, Doctor, but
Okay, all right. But you know they use SIDA. Do you have a chance to actually apply it, or you just watch them do?
we only watch because I think they said that it's expensive. So if we mess up,
Okay, all right, all right. So SIDAs now are priced about 10 to 12 US dollars. So it's about 40 to 50 ringgit. 40 to 50 ringgit. Yeah. But chances of messing up, not so high. I mean, if you don't do it correctly, just remove and then do it again. I don't think it's a huge deal. But maybe because their cars are expensive, so they don't want to take the risk, possibly. All right. Any other questions, guys?
okay.
Siapa tu?
My friend said they practice with PG2 Alpha also.
PGF to Alpha as well. Okay,
They
great.
mix it.
Okay, great. Hakim, you had a question?
My question is for the one injection PGF to alpha punya protocol, the one injection first that if we put bull and then within 5 days if they respond we proceed with AI. But I'm kinda messed up and I didn't hear so much that if there is no response once the bull is being placed there. So do we need to inject another PGF to alpha or until it respond or what? For the
Okay,
one
so
injection.
for the one injection one, you just give that one time. So once your bull is if they don't respond within 5 days, you just give your injection at 5. You don't have to repeat. Then you just heat detect after that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Any other question, guys? Okay. Anything else? If not, I can let you all go. Thumbs up or a 1 if you're fine. And you all can. Okay, everybody good? No other questions? Okay, great. I would just like to ask for your help. If any of you guys that enjoy looking at memes or looking for memes or enjoy seeing memes, as well as those who think they have like pretty good taste in music, can you just stay back for a while? After this, I would just like to have a word with you. All right. Yeah. All right. The rest of you can ciao, and I will see you